The gate didn't budge, but my heart was pounding like a jackhammer. When that fake HOA cop revved his truck and slammed into my custom-built titanium barrier, I swear the whole neighborhood heard the crunch of his ego shattering. This wasn't just a gate, it was my line in the sand, and he just crossed it. I'm Marcus Tate, a 38-year-old mechanic who spent the last decade turning wrenches and saving every penny to build my dream home in Willow Creek, a quiet little suburb outside Austin, Texas. My place isn't much, just a modest ranch-style house with a big garage for my tools and my pride and joy, a reinforced titanium gate I designed myself. It's not just for show, it's a statement. After years of dealing with petty landlords and nosy neighbors, I wanted something that screamed, "This is my space." The gate, sleek and unyielding, was my fortress wall. Willow Creek was supposed to be my fresh start. The neighbors seemed friendly enough, Mrs. Delgado across the street always waved, and the guy next door, Jamal, shared his BBQ ribs every Sunday. But then the letters started showing up. Anonymous. Typed notes in my mailbox, citing HOA violations for things like my truck parked too long in my own driveway, or my gate being non-compliant with community aesthetics. Problem was, Willow Creek didn't have an HOA. Never did. I checked the deed, called the county, nothing. These letters were as fake as a $3 bill. At first, so I laughed it off. Probably some bored retiree with too much time on their hands. But the notes kept coming, each one nastier than the last. Remove that eyesore, gate, or face fines. One read. Another threatened legal action if I didn't paint my mailbox beige. Beige, I started asking around, but nobody knew anything. Mrs. Delgado swore she'd never heard of an HOA, and Jamal just shrugged, saying, "Sounds like someone's got a power trip." Then, one muggy Tuesday evening, I came home to find a man in a cheap Navy uniform standing at my gate, scribbling on a clipboard. He had a badge pinned to his chest that read, HOA Enforcement in Comic Sans. Comic Sans, I knew right then this guy was trouble. His name was Gary, or so he claimed, mid-40s, potbelly straining against his polyester uniform, with a smirk that made my skin crawl. "Mr. Tate," he said, not looking up from his clipboard, "your gate violates Section 3, Clause 12 of the Willow Creek HOA regulations. You've got 48 hours to remove it, or we'll do it for you." I crossed my arms, leaning against my truck. "Buddy, there ain't no HOA here." I checked. "Who the hell are you?" Gary puffed out his chest, like a rooster about to crow. "I'm the duly appointed enforcement officer for this community. You don't comply, you'll be sorry." He slapped a citation on my gate, a flimsy piece of paper with a logo that looked like it was drawn in Microsoft Paint. I tore it off and held it up. "This is fake. You're fake. Get off my property before I call the real cops." He didn't budge. Instead, he got in my face, close enough I could smell his cheap cologne. "You think you're above the rules. Tate people like you. Moving in here, ruining our neighborhood with your junkyard aesthetic. That gate's coming down, one way or another." That's when I noticed the neighbors peeking out from behind curtains. Mrs. Delgado was on her porch, phone in hand. Jamal was leaning against his mailbox, shaking his head. Gary wasn't just messing with me, he was putting on a show, and I wasn't about to let him win. The next morning, I found my mailbox spray-painted with the word non-compliant in red. My security camera caught a blurry figure in an HOA jacket doing the deed at 2 a.m. I posted the footage on the neighborhood Facebook group, asking if anyone knew this clown. The response was immediate. A dozen neighbors chimed in, saying they'd gotten similar letters. One guy, Tom, said he'd paid a $200 fine to avoid trouble. Another, Sarah, said her dog's outdoor kennel was vandalized after she ignored a citation. This wasn't just a prank, it was a scam. I decided to fight fire with fire. I printed out the security footage stills, made flyers calling out the fake HOA, and stuffed them in every mailbox on the block. I even nailed one to the community bulletin board with scam alert in bold Sharpie. If Gary wanted a war, he'd get one. But Gary wasn't done. The next day, he showed up with a new tactic, a megaphone. Standing in the middle of the street, he blared, "Marcus Tate is in violation of community standards. His gate is a safety hazard and an eyesore. Demand its removal." A few neighbors came out, confused. Some nodded along, buying his act. Others, like Jamal, yelled back, "Man, shut up and go home." The street was turning into a circus, and I was the unwilling ringmaster. Then came the twist. While I was arguing with Gary, a woman I'd never seen before pulled up in a beat-up sedan. She was in her 60s, gray hair in a tight bun, wearing a cardigan despite the Texas heat. She marched right up to Gary and slapped him across the face. The crowd went silent. "You're not fooling anyone." "Gary," she shouted, "I know what you're doing, and I'm done covering for you." Her name was Evelyn, and she was Gary's mother. His mother. Turns out, Gary had been living in her basement, unemployed and bitter, cooking up this HOA scheme to extort money from the neighborhood. Evelyn had found his fake citations and uniforms stashed in her garage. She'd driven over to put an end to it, mortified that her son was terrorizing the community she'd lived in for 30 years. Evelyn's bombshell lit a fuse. The neighbors, already on edge, erupted. Tom, the guy who'd paid the fake fine, started yelling about getting his money back. Sarah demanded Gary be arrested for vandalism. Even Mrs. Delgado, usually the picture of calm, was waving her phone, threatening to call the cops. Gary's face went from smug to panicked, his clipboard shaking in his hands. But Gary wasn't going down without a fight. "You're all ungrateful," he screamed. "Spit flying. This neighborhood's a dump because of people like him." He pointed at me, then at my gate. "That thing's a disgrace, and I'm going to prove it." Before anyone could stop him, Gary sprinted to his pickup truck, parked crookedly across the street. He climbed in, revved the engine, and floored it straight at my gate. The crowd gasped. I froze, watching 3,000 pounds of steel hurtling toward my pride and joy. The impact was deafening, a bone-rattling crunch as his truck slammed into the titanium. The hood crumpled like tinfoil. The windshield cracked, and smoke poured from the engine. My gate, not a scratch, okay, maybe a dent, but it held firm. Gary stumbled out, dazed, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. The neighbors were screaming now, some filming, others calling 911. Jamal ran over, pulling me back in case Gary tried something else. Evelyn was sobbing, apologizing to everyone. "I didn't raise him like this," she kept saying. I walked up to the wreckage, heart still racing, and planted a wooden sign I'd made that morning in the lawn. It read, "HOA Scam Exposed" in big, bold letters. The crowd cheered, phones flashing as they snapped photos. Gary, realizing he was done, tried to limp away, but Tom and a few others blocked his path. "You're not going anywhere, pal," Tom growled. The police arrived minutes later, sirens blaring. They cuffed Gary, who was still muttering about community standards, and took statements from the crowd. The footage of his truck smashing into my gate was already going viral on the neighborhood Facebook group, racking up hundreds of shares. By nightfall, it was on local news and with headlines like, "Fake HOA Cops Epic Fail." Gary's scam unraveled faster than a cheap sweater. The police found a stash of fake citations, forged letterheads, and even a PayPal account where he'd collected fines from half a dozen neighbors. He was charged with fraud, vandalism, and reckless endangerment. Evelyn, devastated but determined to make things right, offered to pay back everyone who'd been scammed. The neighborhood rallied around her, insisting she wasn't to blame. My gate became a local legend. People started calling it the Titanium Titan, and a few neighbors even asked me to design gates for them. I didn't expect to become a folk hero, but I wasn't complaining. The community came together in a way I'd never seen: block parties, group chats, even a no HOA ever petition that got 200 signatures in a day. We'd all been duped, but we'd fought back, and that felt good. The real kicker: a week later, I got a call from a reporter at the Austin Chronicle. They wanted to do a story on the Titanium Titan and how it stopped a con man in his tracks. I laughed and said, "It's just a gate, man." But deep down, I knew it was more than that. It was a symbol of standing your ground, of not letting some wannabe tyrant push you around. As for me, I'm back to turning wrenches, but I keep an eye on my mailbox now. Never know when another Gary might show up. But if they do, they'll have to get through my gate first, and good luck with that. So, what do you think ever dealt with a fake HOA or a neighborhood bully trying to run the show? Drop a comment and let me know. Let's keep these scammers on notice.